right. Perfect. Yep, we just started. Welcome, everybody. I'm Eric Cox. I'm a member of the Netcapital team. I'm joined today with a special member of the Netcapital community, Eric Slaba, with the FCP Insight team. I'm going to go ahead and dig in just a moment, but let's allow a couple of moments for people to settle in. While people are joining the wait room and becoming attendees, feel free to hop into the chat. Tell us where you're calling from. I know Eric is near Seattle. I'm in Washington. I'm calling from just south of LA in Orange County, but we usually get folks from the East Coast and around the world. So feel free to hop into the chat and tell us where you're calling in from today. And we'll get started in just a minute. While folks are doing that, I'm also going to go ahead and add a link to the offering page. Ooh, Florida. I have never seen that yet. Merritt Island, Florida. That's a new one. Welcome.
I got to ask, where is Merritt in relation to some of the other cities? I've been to Marco Island. I want to say it's Marco Island. I've not been to Merritt.
I had not either. I just queued it up. It looks like a beautiful area. I just queued it up on Google Maps.
Oh, there we
It
go.
looks like
That's what I should. That's what I should be doing.
no. Nick, I'm sure Nick is gonna. I think he might end up popping back in and sharing. But it looks like it's next to Rockledge, near Aquatic Reserve. Yep, due east of Orlando. Yep, he wanted to share between Cocoa Beach and.
Okay, beautiful.
It does look absolutely beautiful. Okay, cool. Especially, you might not be able to share that right now with the bad weather that's coming across the Northeast. So you might have to tuck that away. Don't want to scare anybody off. Oh, so we also have San Marcos, California, close to San Diego. Welcome, welcome. Awesome. Well, we are 3 minutes in, so we can go ahead and start to get started here. Welcome again. Thank you so much for joining me. As I mentioned, I'm here with Eric, CEO of FCP Insight. Today, as always, the company is actively raising on the Netcapital platform. I am going to add a link to that into the chat feature here, so everybody has that. There it is. You can go ahead and click that link and go directly to the offering page to learn more about a potential investment into FCP Insights. Or you go to netcapital.com and search FCP, or you can go directly to netcapital.com/companies/FCP Insight. So those are all the ways you can go review the offering page, learn more, and if you're so inclined, you can go ahead and invest. With that being said, I'm going to do a couple of quick housekeeping items. Please do use the Q&A feature built into Zoom. I know there's the chat feature that we've been hanging out with to talk about where we're calling in from. That is fantastic. But the Q&A feature makes it so much easier to track all the questions as they come in, and it makes it easier to address as many of them as possible. And please do ask your questions. We're here for you. We want this to be as interactive as possible. So please do ask your questions, and please do use the Q&A feature built into Zoom rather than the chat functionality. Wow. With all that being said, let's circle back over to the man of the hour, Eric. Eric, why don't you come on in here and tell us a little bit about what you're building with FCP Insight?
Yeah, thanks, Eric. I appreciate it. FCP Insight is an ERP system that's integrated with QuickBooks. It's online. It's hosted by Amazon Web Services. It's multi-tenant and adaptable and responsive. And it really is the full system for the construction industry. And right now we're primarily focused on the electrical specialty contracting trade. It's adaptable from the standpoint of we can turn on and off different features in it, and we can add data points to it without having to have a programmer be involved. And so we can really adapt it to the workflow of an individual client's needs. And it has implications beyond the electrical contracting industry, but that's where our initial market launch is. So.
Took me a little bit longer to get off mute there, excuse me. And then for those who are not super familiar about how big of a problem this is, can you kind of try to define the problem a little bit for folks that are in the market?
Well, for the longest time, the construction industry has been the least automated industry in the world, which is a fascinating problem in and of itself. There are a number of products that have come online really over the last 5 to 7 years. But it's a significant issue. There are still a number of contractors who run their businesses off of spreadsheets and Word documents and common file folders and paper files, and it's kind of nuts actually. And so it's still a pretty big issue. I think the biggest deterrence to adoption is corporate inertia. And then when they do adopt, oftentimes we have customers who have adopted a product that they're not entirely satisfied with, but that they really can't do anything to change how it operates. They have to work with the workflow that they've been given. There are a number of ERP systems in the marketplace that if you want anything changed, you're going to pay a programmer to change it, and so that's a real challenge.
Absolutely. And especially when you're trying to be adaptable, everything is about trying to be under budget and on time. And then you add in all this friction. That can't be the answer. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your solution and how that solves some of those problems?
Yeah, so we start out on the front end with the customer relation management. We've got sales funnel, estimating tool. Estimating tools, can be modified to adapt to a particular client's needs, all the way through to award of project, ongoing project management, Kanbans for workflow management, real-time job costing, real-time hourly reporting of workflow, being able to go back and review how did a project do, the real-time WIP report, which is a pretty significant issue. And then post implementation of initial project, we've got ongoing service and maintenance and workflows around basic ongoing maintenance of a customer. So for my own company, we started building the product about 20 years ago before we decided we'd commercialize it. And for my own company, we've got tens of millions of dollars worth of work that are probably hundreds of millions actually at this point of work that's run through it. And in some instances, Seattle Pacific University is a 30+ year client. We've got 15 to 20 years worth of history in their facilities that we can go back and review, which is highly beneficial. So.
It's amazing to me, folks that have been in the market. And I always love when I hear people creating something for their own needs and then opening up to more folks who have similar needs. I think that's a great place to begin. So we're talking about project planning all the way from scope development through permitting and the submittal process, really trying to make it so that the project, kind of stays on track the way as best as possible.
Yeah, really a central repository, single point of truth, which is, and with the full integration with QuickBooks, it truly is the single point of truth. We can, we are able to track real job costs, real, what did the equipment order come in at from a pricing standpoint, as opposed to an estimate. And so we can start out with the estimate. We can compare, estimated versus real, and see how we're doing from a WIP report standpoint, which is highly necessary in the construction industry.
Yeah, no. And for those who are unfamiliar with the WIP language, can you define that for folks?
Yeah, it's work in progress. And what that really means is, you've got a job, it might be a 12-month project. And, we get started on it month one and a bunch of equipment gets ordered or materials get ordered or drawings get done and permits get done. And so we had an estimate for the costs associated with each of those items. They might get billed for at the time that they arrive and are delivered to a customer. And so throughout the project, we can have what's called a schedule of values that billings are done against based on percentage of completions of individual items. So if we believe 100% of the equipment has been delivered, we might bill for 100% of the equipment. And being able to look at, well, what have we delivered? And what have we billed for? And is there a plus or a minus on, like we've delivered 70% of the job, but we've only billed for 60% of it. Or in a bad situation, it might go the other way. We've delivered 70% of the job, but we've billed for 85% of it because we've used 85% of the labor. And so we build against the percentage of labor as opposed to the percentage that we've actually performed. That too is equally not a good thing. So being able to track where are we up or down is really beneficial.
Thanks for that. No, absolutely. I think that really drives it home for folks that might not live in this market. And I already see some great questions coming in from the attendees. Thank you so much. Let's keep that coming. But we gotta lay a little bit more groundwork before we dig into those. So, so Eric, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, how you got involved with this? You mentioned that you actually built this technology for you to use, and then after you give us a little bit of flavor from your background, we could talk about Kevin and the rest of the team. But yeah, Eric, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Fair enough. Yeah. So I I have been running a life safety and security company for 35 plus years, and joined the Entrepreneurs Organization in 1997. Was at the Birthing of Giants program at MIT in 2000 to 2002. For those who might know of Vern Harnish was running the program at the time, and at the time he asked a question: what is that industry-wide problem that if you spent, $1 million solving, it would be $100 million solution? And at the time, it was, there were no ERPs for the construction industry. And when I was told, when I started to really research what would it take to build a unified system that went the lifespan of a customer. I was told it was insurmountable and would be way more than $1 million, but we knew we needed something, and so engaged with our now CTO back in 2002 2003, and started to build a holistic solution that ran the lifespan of a construction industry customer, from initial opportunity or lead through ongoing maintenance and service of the facilities. And really looked at what does the hierarchy look like. You might have a building that's owned by a property manager that gets sold. Well, all of that information related to all of the work that's ever been done in that building, we want to retain that with the building, even though it's got a new owner. And so being able to migrate those things and move them with ownership, hugely valuable. And being able to see what work have we done when and under what phases, hugely valuable. So built out a robust system. Kevin, our CTO, came on board and started working with us. Eventually became the CTO for Absco, and worked on a number of large. We do work for the U.S. Navy. Worked on a number of large IT infrastructure, software integration, data integration projects with us for the state of Washington and for the U.S. Navy, and over the course of that, really saw some of the challenges that he was working on the software at the same time. Saw some of the challenges that our industry faces, and was really able to address those. So the nice thing about Kevin is he's not building software because he's enamored with software. He's building software because it solves problems and challenges for business owners, which is one of the things I absolutely love about working with Kevin as a key member of our team. So yeah.
It's been great to see the two of your working relationship. It's very clear that you're more than just colleagues, but also actual friends, and you do respect and appreciate each other's work. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
And I know your team has raised some capital over the years. Any mention of investors or advisors that you'd like to share? I know there's a little bit more of an extended outside of the core team. Any of those folks you'd like to mention here?
Yeah, I mean, Torstein, huge mentor. Warren Rustand has been a huge mentor. Tor's served on the board of Deckers. Warren has been the chair of a lot of publicly traded companies. And both have been instrumental in really shaping my leadership philosophy and challenging us on how best to go to market, and how to scale the product, and how to put the right things in place, and rather than just get it wrong and go to market. And we've actually invested time and energy into getting some things right, so that we can now scale from where we are. So yeah.
Well, that's kind of a perfect transition to a couple of the questions that are coming in here. Let's talk about the market for a little bit. For
Yeah.
those who are not incredibly familiar, how large is this market, and what would we even call this type of the market where FCP Insights addresses?
Yeah, so it's the back end business solution for for construction companies, and those solutions vary. There's some software that's just for project management. There's the 800-pound gorilla on the service side is called Service Titan. Does a wonderful job for service related companies that are getting their projects done in a 30-day window, and billing for it within a financial time frame. But when I called Service Titan to see if they could replace my own product, we were 20 minutes into the demo, and they told me that it was not a good fit. That their workflows, work in progress, and working with prevailing wage, and working with government entities, and schedule of values are all things that are just not ideal for their workflow. And there are a number of companies that do both aspects, service and so we're really looking to solve with a holistic product that can do both aspects of the job. The market size, I mean, it's billions of dollars just for the U.S., just for electrical contracting. The small to mid-size range that we're focused on, is in and of itself somewhere between $3 and $8 billion. The much larger market is tens of billions of dollars, and then if you expand that out to the rest of the specialty contracting industry that I think the product has implications for over time. It is truly tens of billions of dollars, and then if you look at it in a more global and holistic marketplace, it's hundreds of billions. So it's a significant market, and again, there are some successful companies that are already in aspects of it, but I think there's a niche that we can definitely fill. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And back to that massive number, the global specialty trade contractors market, with a healthy 10% CAGR. We're talking about expected to reach about 840 billion, I think, in 2026. So a very meaningful market if you look at the kind of the entire global scale here.
yeah, it's significant, and it has some real challenges. Like I said, it's one of the least automated markets in the world, and running a business effectively is having the right information in front of you real time is important, and there are so many companies that don't have that. So
And I think we're learning now, especially in the world of big data and AI, that information, that data is mission critical, and people are really appreciating how access to that data is the differentiator in business.
yeah, well, and having insight into it as well. It's one of the things that Kevin's doing right now is starting to work on a handful of lines of AI code that should allow us to provide information based on this salesperson selling the job and this project manager running it and this lead tech being on it. We have an optimum opportunity for success, or hey, avoid these jobs, you don't ever make money on them, right? Like just being able to suck all that out intuitively. I think we come to understand some of it, but being able to have AI do a dump of large data and give us that kind of recognition of these are the places that you're absolutely most successful in, highly beneficial. So
Absolutely, absolutely. When the data says, "Let's just get Eric on every call," and that's the optimal. No,
oh,
I imagine we
I hope
gotta.
it doesn't. Yeah, I hope it doesn't. Hope it doesn't ever say that. We could be in a real challenge. Uh,
Delegate, delegate, delegate.
yeah,
No, I
yeah.
hopefully not.
Build great teams, attract great people, and get the hell out of their way.
Amen, brother. Absolutely. So that's fantastic. Massive market with a really nice, looks like a pretty solid projected growth rate. Obviously, a lot of uncertainty when we're talking about the future, but pretty solid projected CAGR, cumulative aggregate growth rate. And then let's talk a little bit about revenue model before we start transitioning over to some of these questions coming in. So you have that on your offering page. Can you tell a little bit about how FCP Insight makes money?
Yeah, we're a SaaS model, monthly recurring revenue software as a service, and it is a licensing licensed platform. So typically a company like mine, I think there might be two people who don't have a login for our software out of the globally 60 people that we have, 50 stateside, and well, actually another 12 in Manila, and that work through our BPOs that we work with. And so you know we're a company our size, 62 people. We're typically going to license 60 people on the system. The base price is $1,500 for the first 10, and 75 for the next 20, and then it goes down to 50. Now, if we have a really large contractor who's going to onboard a bunch of people at one time, we probably negotiate some discounts, but yeah, subject to conversation. So
Absolutely. And I think because of the business that it's in, that feels like a digestible amount, especially for all the value you create with that software stack.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's huge. I will say this: we're in the process because I think it'll remove some of the friction of adoption. We're in the process of building out a self-onboarded free version of the estimating software with a light CRM and light sales funnel piece that we're going to offer out to the marketplace and really to attract early stage electrical contracting to using our system because we know that in time that will likely translate to new users and revenue. So
That sounds perfect. That sounds perfect. I'm going to come back to some of the competitive analysis conversation. I know we want to get there, but let's start peppering in some of these questions here. We're getting a little bit to the future here. So again, I like to offer a pretty big asterisk for our issuers when we're on these calls. The future is inherently speculative and uncertain. There's no guarantees. Past performance is not a guarantee for future success. So with those kind of traditional disclosures, let's dig into this first question. Wondering what your goals are for sales and revenue of FCP for the next 5 years. So, best guess on future revenue over the next handful of years.
yeah, really looking at it at the end of 5 years to be greater than $1 million ARR, which is it's a key benchmark for the success of a software company. And again, I agree, everything's speculative and who knows, but our goal over the next 18 months is to drive to 300,000 in annual recurring revenue. So monthly revenue north of $30,000 a month by the end of that point, because obviously the annual is different than where we're at on the curve in the monthly. Somebody who comes on in December is not contributing to the year a whole lot, but it's important because it sets us up for success in the following year. And really north of 650 in that 36-month window. So really looking at it in a 18-month tranches. How do we get past the $1 million mark? How do we get to the point that we're cash flow positive in 18 to 24 months? So yeah.
Perfect, perfect. Thanks for those details. Great question. And continuing along that theme, what's the average sales cycle time from lead to close? And I know in B2B SaaS, it could be cyclical, it could be seasonal, but if you go, ballpark time to close, kind of.
It's really interesting. I've had a client that closed in 30 days, and we're talking to people right now who are contemplating closing that we talked to 12, 14 months ago. So, and I will say this: I've got several friends who own SaaS model business systems, business solutions that are significant. One of them in the food industry, and one of the things he said when we did our first capital raise was, the people that I'm closing today, I talked to 24 to 36 months ago. And it's really interesting. It's like, oh, so they never found the solution that they wanted, or they tried something else and it wasn't what they needed, and eventually it's come around and now they're onboarding. I think the other thing that I like is that he also said, but once we land them, they're really sticky, and we've found that this is a pretty sticky product. So.
That ties really well into these next couple questions. Can we talk a little bit about ballparking customer acquisition costs and then that kind of churn or retention?
Yeah, we haven't had any churn yet. Now we're early stage. We've got a beta client that came on that's been on the system for 5 years now and is actually investing in the development. And we've got a client that's been on for about a year and a half that is very happy, I think, at this point. Um, we so we haven't had any churn yet. Customer acquisition cost that's a challenging one. It's expensive right now as we figure out the automation piece and the outreach piece, but we're in the process of working with a AI marketing company that can identify when people are doing searches for estimating and when they're searching for ERP specific to the electrical contracting industry, and their level of contacts in the marketplace is absolutely really impressive. So post this raise, we'll be contracting them to utilize the AI to identify those searches and do outbound outreach to those prospective customers. So
And that what's so great about that is that as that data kind of gets refined and utilized over time, it just gets better and better. Customer acquisition costs go down as you identify more likely to convert clients. So it sounds like you're really taking a data-rich, AI-enhanced approach here, and that's just going to continue to serve itself well over time, I imagine.
Yeah, we definitely will be. It's been a much more manual process to attract the initial clients that we have, and that's expensive. And so we want to move in a different direction in this next round. So yeah.
That sounds perfect. That sounds perfect. Well, time flies when you're having fun. I can't believe we're already about halfway through our regularly scheduled programming. So I'm going to do another shameless plug right here in the middle here. Friendly reminder, we're on with Eric, the CEO of FCP Insights. They're actively raising capital on the Netcapital platform. I just added a link back into the chat feature there. You can select that. It'll take you directly to the offering page where you can learn more. And if you're so inclined, you can smash that invest button and join the family. You can also go to netcapital.com and search FCP Insight, or go directly to netcapital.com/companies/FCP Insight. So I can't believe we already gotten through that, and we're getting some great questions. Thank you so much for the attendees for participating. Um, Continuing along after that brief what is a brief message from our sponsors. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the competitive analysis. So, as you mentioned, you are covering so many pieces: job costing, labor management, document management, and I'm sure there's all sorts of different pieces that just do this or just do that. But can we talk about the kind of the holistic landscape? How do you view the competitive analysis as other players that you kind of would view as competitors to FCP?
Yeah, it's interesting. There are a number of estimating tools that are just estimating tools, and they don't necessarily plug in to or integrate with very many, or if any, ERPs. And so the challenges are the electrical industry right now uses a variety of different estimating tools, but then they have to transfer all that data. And it's to whatever it is they chose to do. And oftentimes they chose to run it, in a spreadsheet. There are project software platforms. Procore is a great example of that. Now, Procore's business model, a lot of people are really frustrated with because they charge based on a percentage of work volume. And so there are a number of business owners who feel like that's not a reasonable, give me a fixed price for what it is I need to pay for, and then let me scale my operations accordingly. I don't want to have to write you a check for a percentage of my annual revenues. And so, I mean, it's a model. They've had success with it, and they do a great job with project management. I mean, they're phenomenal project management software. But when it comes to the ongoing service and maintenance, or when it comes to integrating all of different aspects, they continue to make improvements. They're not alone. I mean, again, like I said, Service Titan is one of those that is really good at service, but it's not a holistic solution. And so, again, I think we have an opportunity to provide a flexible, adaptable, and responsive solution that is holistic to the marketplace, that I think the marketplace really wants. I think there are a lot of business owners who they like the way they run their business, and they'd like to be able to have a system that matches the way they want to run their business. And so I think that's a pretty big piece. You're not going to call most of the ERPs and say, "Hey, we'd like you to eliminate this off of this page and add this to this page," but it's just not going to happen. You either like what you get or you don't. So
Bringing that extra personalization piece, I think, goes a long way. And I think being able to be a kind of one-stop shop, so to speak, I think also could benefit specific clients in a way that they don't have to track all these disparate resources and service providers. So I think that could be some great value for your clients.
yeah, the biggest thing is having one source of truth that is a holistic system that really covers the depth and breadth of a client relationship is, I think, essential. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as we talk about the competitive analysis, I like to think about defensibility and IP in this context. So, any IP strategies that you're comfortable sharing? I'm not sure if you have patent claims or if it's more trade secret, but could we dig a little bit into your IP strategy?
That would really, I would have to get our CTO on this call for that. Everything's copyrighted, everything's protected. But as far we've not applied for patents. the interesting thing is this: most of our industry does the same things. It doesn't matter what specialty contractor. You gotta identify a customer and a prospect. You gotta market. You gotta follow a lead. You gotta look at specifications and drawings and put a scope of work together and do an estimate. You gotta permit the job. You gotta track hours. You gotta order equipment. I mean, like, none of those things are really something that you're gonna go get a patent for, a process patent for, because everybody does it. I mean, it's pretty ubiquitous from that standpoint. But that also leads to the product is adaptable for more than just the electrical contracting industry. I mean, we can do a change out of the estimating tool for mechanical or electrical, or for plumbing or HVAC, things of that nature, and have it provide an offering for a whole nother marketplace. And because it's so common, reporting time cards is reporting time cards against a scope of work, a project, or a service call. So
So the tech is adaptable, but I mean, there's just no, I share this with entrepreneurs all the time. There really is no substitute for just, kind of out competing, owning the market, getting market share, getting positive client feedback. Like, there's really no IP solution that gets past just being the preferred company and the identified brand.
and again, I think word of mouth is highly beneficial. So as we continue to grow, that'll be part of the marketing strategy.
That sounds great. That sounds great. Yeah. Any other thoughts on defensibility? Other things that, I mean, outside of your team's expertise, which sounds like a critical element of your ability to get to this far in success and potentially future success. Any other pieces of defensibility that you'd like to share? Any moats? Any licensing agreements or anything that we could talk about?
That again, I'd have to get our CTO involved. So I'm going to apologize on that one.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. We put it out there, but again, at the end of the day, it is, going out there and competing. So I just questions out there, but that could be a good opportunity for folks to follow up with your team if they want to dig deeper with your CTO. And I think he's actually on the line right here in the attendees. So
He is
available for questions.
he is attending today. Yes. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. Cool. More questions coming in here. What tech stack are you using for the software development? And again, that feels very specifically on point for your CTO. But anything you'd like to add there?
Yeah, no, that is definitely on point for Kevin. And Kevin, I'm gonna apologize. I probably should have had you on this call today. But yeah, no, Kevin. So I know that we've got things partitioned into the different silos so that we can do call outs to the various functionality of the system. But as far as, is it Java? Is it Python? Is it, what are we using? Kevin would have to speak to all of that. I know different aspects of the system are doing various things, and there are different parts of software that are involved. So yeah, not my
No,
area of expertise. I apologize.
no apologies needed. Specialization is key, especially early on with entrepreneurs. So having the identified subject matter expert and letting them focus on that is a good strategy. So that makes sense. Thank you so much for that question. And this one I think feels like it fits better for you here as a question. So does this solution allow for mitigating the gaps it finds when a deal is being created? So that's an interesting question. So can it recommend, kind of personalized solution as well as localized permits based off the geographic location, et cetera? So is it kind of, looking for
Great
any,
question.
yeah. Mhm.
It doesn't do well. Okay, so there's a couple of things. One, it does allow you to create things called solution sets. It also allows you to copy any previous proposal, the equipment list, the terms and conditions. So there's a number of things that you can copy over from an existing proposal, and you can choose some or all of the existing proposal to copy over. So an example of that is if let's say we're doing Nordstrom racks. Nordstrom's doing a huge remodel in the region, and all of them are getting renovated, and we're doing, access control and electrical and lighting and fire alarm in those buildings, and it's the same spec over and over again, but the counts might be slightly different. We would likely just create the first proposal and just continue to copy that proposal as a new proposal with a new facility for the next one. And what we can do is go back and look at how did we perform on the last one, and so we can see where we over or underperformed. We can get real-time information there. What it doesn't do right now is provide a recommendation for the next proposal based on performance from the last proposal. Now, so really great question, by the way. I love this question. With the addition of some AI code, we believe that we will get to that point in the not too distant future. And that really is a piece that we're striving towards. So,
Oops,
Eric,
trying
you
to
still
come
there?
off. Yeah, I was
Got
trying to go
locked
off
in there.
mute. I went off camera. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm here. Now that is a great question. And I do love that with your technologists on your team and the incorporation of AI, that does feel like a great application for that kind of iterative, like kind of filling the gaps piece in the software solution. That's a great question.
Yeah, one of the things we're really looking forward to is the ability to have the system go back and say, you currently estimate, or the estimating tool that you're using says this takes 4 hours, but our analysis would demonstrate that it's really, on average, every time you bid this, it's taking you 6 hours. And to be able to have that level of AI engagement, I think we're not that far from. So it's, yeah, some really cool stuff coming, I think.
I love that. I love that. Absolutely. More great questions coming in. Let's keep it up, team. Love how interactive this is. Fantastic. With the end-to-end approach, can you talk a bit about converting customers who already have a CRM or ERP in place and the process for migrating historical data? Great questions coming through.
Yeah, so we recently Kevin was gracious enough to import, and it was about an 8-hour process to import a bunch of data out of a flat file of I want to say it was FileMaker Pro. So it's not, if we have comma delineated data, it's not that difficult to export to map. And in many instances, it wouldn't take 8 hours. I mean, I think that if we're sucking it straight out of QuickBooks, I think it's 2 to 3 hours to get it done. So that is part of our process, is helping a customer to onboard and to get their data matched up properly, and to do data analysis and data integrity checks with the client to say, did we map everything to the right location? Is this going to give you what you need? Because it is really important that we do bring over what data we can. In that instance, we were able to bring over years of proposals that have been done and projects that have been done out of a FileMaker or Pro flat file. So and we're able to do that with QuickBooks as well. So there are some things that again, because Kevin is not just a great architect, but he's also a data expert. He's able to write some script and make some stuff happen that I don't know that everybody's going to go do for their customers. So, in time, is that the best way to spend Kevin's time as we continue to grow? Well, we're going to want to automate some of that. We're going to want to bring up a couple of people who can do it, who aren't our CTO. But for early adopters and really growing the early marketplace, it's not a bad use of time, especially considering the value of the customers in the long run. So, yeah.
Shout out to all the great work that Kevin's doing on the line here. That's fantastic. And more great questions coming in here. Let's talk a little bit about your deal highlights and successes to date here. So already more than 100,000 raised on this current Netcapital offering. I think it was over 700,000 raised last year as well. Can you talk a little bit about some of your recent successes, and then we'll talk a little bit about the future as well.
Yeah. So we're currently integrating a communications AI piece into the system, which I think will automate for our customers the some of the ongoing weekly touch points. But what we want to do is give our clients and to give AppSco for that matter the ability to create the Amazon-esque experience that we've all come to expect. Like, where is my order? When will I receive it? What is the tracking number from the shipping company that I can go in and look at it myself? And so we're in the process of overlaying AI, and some of that's going live here this week, and some's going next week, to enable our customers to have a better and more proactive response with their customers. And like I said, we're working on the free version of the estimating piece, so that we can get that on the market end of January, beginning of February, because we believe that that will attract clients long term. One of the other pieces that will be coming up is um, working towards a QuickBooks listing, not just being a product that integrates with QuickBooks, but being a listed vendor with QuickBooks. So that's first 2 quarters of this next year. Um, we've significantly enhanced the scheduling piece of the program for service and installation, enabling automated emails of this is the technician that's going to be on your job, et cetera. So some really interesting pieces that have been added. We've got a client that rolled out a bunch of additional customizable fields, so the client can customize a field and add it to a tab. In this particular instance, it was because they needed a checklist for their service department for doing generator service, and so there's some cool things that have been added there to enable us to bring on some additional clients. Eric, did I answer your question sufficiently there?
Yeah, absolutely. And you talked about how it would be great to become a preferred vendor of QuickBooks eventually, but how instrumental do you think it's been just integrating with QuickBooks up to this point? Like I know that feels like a big deal that you guys have been able to accomplish already up to this point.
Yeah, well, I mean, the nice thing about having the full integration with QuickBooks is it allows for an accounting department to, okay, all right, great, bring this ERP in. It's not going to mess with my accounting system. I don't want you touching my balance sheet or my P&L. And at the same time, we want to be able to give frontline people, these are your job costs. This is how your job is performing. And we don't want to give them access to QuickBooks, but we want to be able to give them that information. And so that's absolutely essential. And then being able to run, real time analysis of estimated versus actual is essential. Like, we thought we were going to make, X gross margin, and we're making better than X, or we're not hitting X, and how do we tackle that? So those are really beneficial pieces to the system. So.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And in terms of generating revenue, as it looks like even just in this year went from a couple $100 per month in revenue to a couple $1,000 a month in revenue pretty
Yeah, it's
consistently.
little north of 7,000 a month right now coming in. And yeah, like I said, our goal is to hit probably 35 here a month, God willing, and the market doesn't change, and all of the things that you would have me say while doing a capital raise, and everything the lawyers would have me say during the capital raise. And hey, who knows? Amazon Web Services could stop operating, and the construction industry could cease to exist, and all of those other wonderful things that we put disclaimers that we put in PPMs and on CFRAs. So yeah, yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks for sliding those in there. Yeah, a lot of uncertainty, but up from even just a couple, like it was $500 or a month earlier this year. So that's
Yeah, yeah,
obviously
yeah,
without
yeah.
the
Since
without
June,
guaranteeing future performance. Hmm.
yeah, since June, it's been a decent uptick, and we've got a couple of things, couple of prospects in the client in the hopper that could uh, significantly improve that. So
Fantastic.
yeah.
Fantastic. And then in the broadest possible terms, ideal ballpark use of proceeds. I know it looks like a big push into marketing and sales, right? For this fundraise.
Yeah, yeah, yes, a significant push into especially this automated, like if we can identify when somebody's doing a web search for an electrical contracting, estimating tool, or identify when they're doing a search for an ERP or a CRM, and hit them with an email same time. Uh, One of the companies that, well, the company that we're moving forward with, it was really interesting. I'm on the board of governors at the Columbia Tower Club, and our recruitment has completely turned around from slow attrition of members to positive membership growth, and it has everything to do with anytime anybody looks for a private club in the greater Seattle area, they're able to identify that and send them an email. Hey, would you like to come for a free lunch at the Columbia Tower Club? Well, holy crap. Really? The answer is yes. I would love to have that. And So we've seen that attrition turn around, and really looking forward to uh, putting this in place. So
I love that. And Kevin offered some insights into the technology here. So quotes from the CTO here, just for a little technology support for those questions earlier. The code is deployed as Docker images running in Kubernetes on AWS, Amazon Web Services. The backend includes SQL, Redis, and Java. The data access code is generated using an object relational code generator, and the data access code includes Java, JSP, and Struts
Struts,
in
yeah.
the middle tier, and HTML, JavaScript, jQuery, Bootstrap at the browser level. So for the folks who appreciated that, you're welcome. For the rest of us, you can go ahead and tune back in now.
For we laymen, yes. For those who understood all of that, that's yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For the one person on here that really appreciated that, thank you so much for typing that, Kevin. No, I joke. That's really helpful. And then more great questions, team. I love this interaction. So, what do you think is the sweet spot for target customer size? 1 to 20, 20 to 50 users, 100 plus users, etc. And then on the light version, is that kind of more targeted towards like mom and pop shops? And I know that's a future iteration that you're hoping to roll out. So yeah, general like the ideal target customer size or target SMB size for a client.
Yeah, so on the free version of the estimating, it's 1 to 5 or 6 people, and where somebody's having to do estimates and track opportunity. Um, Once you get to the point, we we've got interested parties in the 10 employee range. We've got interested parties that are interested in potentially switching software platforms, which that to me is a much bigger lift to say, hey, we want to get off of this and onto we're going to take a serious look at what you're doing. We'd like to look at getting onto your system, and they're 60, 70 employees. So um, I think most of our industry, by the time you get to 50, 60, 70 employees, if you don't have a business solution that you're doing something with, even if it's just the project management piece or the estimating piece or the CRM, if you don't have those in place, something's wrong. Because you're managing everything, like I can't imagine managing everything out of my Outlook, and with multiple salespeople. I wouldn't have any clue what they were bidding or who they were talking to or if they were talking to anybody. And so it becomes essential to have some of those pieces, even if all they're doing is handling that one aspect of the business. Some of those things need to be in place by the time you start to hit any level of scale whatsoever. So really the marketplace that we're focused on is the 10 to 50 employees. I have a feeling we're gonna be able to bring on some customers that are larger than 50, as a result of some of the things that we've put in place and some of the challenges that we can fix for them. So, I mean, some of the things that are really kind of cool is we can determine whether or not a field has to be filled in or not. We can provision employees based on their role for read write, and like entire pages just don't even exist for them, because why would they see them? They don't need to see the financials for a job. They're a frontline apprentice, or they're working in the office on something, but we can give them the tools that they need when they need them to do their jobs well. So.
Yeah, that the access control of information is going to be important for sure as teams grow. Certain people having access to certain information, others not. I think that makes a ton of sense. Um,
Well,
and
and
as we go ahead, sorry.
to add to that point, Eric, with Absco having a background in doing, high security projects for the U.S. government, for the military bases, and Lumen Field for the Seahawks and things of that nature, we had to be able to determine who could see what, because some things are need to know. And so a lot of that was put in place very early in the platform's development. It's that discipline is carried over. So.
And I imagine being able to get people subscribed, the 1 to 5 member teams subscribed on the light version. I imagine that's a big piece of retaining customers through the growth to 50 plus employees. Is it pretty high friction, like switching from like an AWS to Google Cloud, since there's a pretty good amount of data? Is it a pretty big deal catching people early?
Sucking the data over isn't the problem. The real challenge is, if I'm accustomed to my estimating tool, and I know that I can make money using my estimating tool, and I know how to bid a job using my estimating tool, and it doesn't matter what the estimating tool, hell, it could be a spreadsheet, right? I know I make money when I do X. uh, there's a huge hesitancy to suddenly give up whatever it is that to me, and oftentimes that's the owner of the company that's doing that, or it's the owner, the sales manager, and a couple of salespeople that are doing that. And so to get that transition to take place, no matter how much of a savings or how much of a headache we can reduce down the road, that does lead to friction. Because again, that's the inertia. I know how to make money doing this, and it scares me to think that we might not be using this. So, yeah.
That makes sense. So having that bird in the hand is such a big deal. So having that light product and people that being their bird in the hand, that feels like a massive advantage going forward. Since that the only thing they'll know is they know how to make money using your product.
That has the potential to be a huge benefit. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. We're coming down to the last couple of minutes. Again, too much fun to be contained in 1 hour, but I got a lot of feedback. People like to start on time and end on time. So we're going to wrap up in just a couple of moments here. But we're going to try to cover 2 more things, but feel free to keep peppering in some questions. We'll get to as many of them as we can. But there are a couple pieces that we'd love to wrap up on. We'd love to cover exit strategies just a little bit. And again, that is a big asterisk. That is probably the most uncertain thing in the future, but we'll touch on a little bit, IPOs, or is it more M&A? Is it continuing to run the company privately for larger times? We can talk about your belief on the exit strategies, and then I'd love to save a little bit of time for closing remarks, just sharing with the folks why now is the perfect time to go and invest in FCP. But before we get to closing remarks and starting to wrap up, can you talk a little bit, again, big asterisks, speculative, uncertain, we're talking about the future here. What does the FCP team imagine some of the exit strategies might be for the company?
Yeah. The interesting thing is I've already had okay, big asterisks, because I mean, let's face it, all of this is speculative, and who knows where the market goes over the next 36 months, and who knows where the construction industry goes over the next 36 months. But we've already had a couple of people approach us about, hey, when you get to this size, we're just going to want to buy you. And I don't know that we're going to want to sell when we get to this size. So it's interesting to have some people who are heavily in the tech industry, specifically in this segment, look at what we're doing and express some interest. That being said, my first goal is to get to cash flow positive. My second goal is to get to the point that we can grow the team effectively and scale the business. And my third objective is to provide a positive return to investors. And I say that as frankly, I say that as the largest investor in the company, and with millions of dollars invested into this thing. So, and several $1 million invested into this thing. We want to see this thing go, and we want to see, more importantly, part of it is the mission of, I want to see us make a positive impact on entrepreneurs who are in the same position that I was in when I didn't have all the right information and it was just really hard to run a business. I want to provide entrepreneurs the ability to make their lives better, and do some good in the world, and provide a return in the process to the investors. So.
What a beautiful sentiment. I think that's exactly the right reason to get into these businesses. And I love that you put your money where your mouth is. You are all the way in on this. And you're going to do, whatever that ultimate exit form, results in, you're going to do everything in your power to get to that return for investors. Last 5 minutes here. And I want to keep a little bit of kind of just wrap up for, sharing the upload, sharing the YouTube account and everything like that. So final question, Eric, why is now the perfect time to go to netcapital.com and invest in FCP Insight? And I'll give you a second to kind of think about it, but timing is everything. We're wrapping up 2023. Why is now the perfect time to go and invest in FCP Insight?
Yeah, my answer to that question, the software is significantly developed and matured. The proof of concept and the ability to onboard customers has already taken place. Now's when it gets to be fun. This is, like all of the headache of getting to this point, making it adaptive and responsive, and the years that were spent to, really figure out what do we got to make it so that it is adoptable by the marketplace. What do we got to, you know, what do we have to do to make it the dog food that dogs will eat, right? Like all of that headache is done. And there's significant expense of getting through all that headache. Now it's when we get to actually start having some fun and really take the thing to market. And I think with the adoption of AI and the ability for AI to identify who's searching for what and everything else, I think now is when it really truly has the potential to be fun. So
I think that's right. I think that right. And that actually segues into a question that I haven't added to my template yet, but I somebody asked it recently. And I think it's phenomenal. Outside of the cash, because of course you can go and invest, and that's a great way to support FCP Insight. Outside of cash, what else could anybody who happens to come across this recording, what could they do to help advance FCP Insight's interest? So there are certain relationships, connections that could be helpful, geographic regions you want to expand to. Outside of cash, how can folks support you?
Eric, I really appreciate that question. If you know a low voltage or a full blown electrical contractor who doesn't have a holistic business system that they're using that is in need of one, connect them with me. I'd love to have a conversation with them. I learn something every time I have a conversation with another business owner about what's working for them and what's not, and what they need. But B, I have a feeling we can provide them a solution to some of their challenges, if not many of their challenges, and I would guess many. So yeah.
Well, there it is. Go and hit the link that I just added back into the chat. Again, we were on the line with Eric with FCP Insight, actively raising capital on the Netcapital platform. I just re-added the link into the chat feature there. You can select that. You can go to netcapital.com and search FCP Insight, or you can go directly to netcapital.com/companies/FCP Insight. That is all there. I want to thank so much for all the attendees. Fantastic questions, team. Love that. We got to all of them. I'm super grateful that everybody participated. Thank you so much for our panelists. I'm gonna say panelists because there's also Eric and Kevin chiming in, the CTO. From the chat. So thanks so much for the team at FCP for joining me today. As always, this has also been recorded. I'm going to go ahead and add a link. Oops, I'm going to go ahead and grab a link and share that with you all to Netcapital's YouTube account. We will have that uploaded in the next couple of hours here. I just got that out finally. So you can go and click the link in chat that goes directly to Netcapital's YouTube, where you'll be able to see this recording. If you missed some, or if you know anybody who are unable to attend, please share this with them. Please share it broadly. We want to get as much exposure as possible here. Or you can go directly to YouTube and search for the Netcapital account, and you'll be able to find it there as well. But go ahead and definitely check out anything you might have missed and share it with anybody who you think might be interested. And as Eric mentioned, if you know any folks in the space, feel free to make some connections outside of the investment space. So again, that's what we're going to do. We have 1 minute left until 1 p.m. Pacific time. Oh, we have to mention what a great time for the college football playoffs. We got the Michigan Wolverines out there. We got the Dubs. They've got the Washington Huskies out there. So let's get a championship in Houston with the two of us. Let's all go hang out. How's that sound to you, Eric?
That sounds absolutely fabulous, and I hope that's what happens. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for everybody for attending. Again, this has been recorded. Go ahead and check out that link. And we will see you on the next webinar. Thank you so much, Eric. It's great. Always a pleasure hanging out with you.
Take care, Eric. It's good to see you again.
Thanks, team. Bye now, everyone.